Hi
Okay.
everyone, welcome to the 14th webinar of Order Management Gurus. And there are many faces. I'm seeing again many names who have been here earlier, so they know a lot about the community. But some of us who are new to the community and joining in for the first time, just a quick introduction to Order Management Gurus. We are a LinkedIn community with over 2,600 members now. And roughly, we've been 2 years in establishment since May 2023. So yeah, roughly 2 years now. And we've been having these monthly webinars, even though since the last couple of months, we did not have the monthly webinar because we had two live sessions, one parallel to NRF and one parallel to Shop Talk. Those were very good, well-attended events and successful events. And largely the idea of the community is to collaborate between all other professionals in the order management space, give everyone a space to network, exchange ideas, collaborate, celebrate each other's wins, learn from each other's. And it is pretty community oriented. Some ground rules. We try to not make it about any particular, there is no advertisement, no promotion allowed on the platform, just so that it is largely focused on the knowledge itself. And that was about it. Over to Laxman. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Karan. I really appreciate that. Welcome all to the 14th edition of this panel discussion. And I think this is the first one we are having in 2025 virtually, correct, Karan?
Yes. Yes.
So it's really great to see all of you folks here. The topic we have today is quite a timely and exciting topic, how omnichannel technology leaders are navigating the fallout of tariffs. We also have two great panelists here with us. We have Rohan Cherian from PetValu Canada and Venky Avunoori from Spencer's Gifts, from Spencer's. I would like to first have them introduce themselves, and I think then I can introduce the agenda. Rohan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first up, thanks for having me, guys. I had only heard about this this forum, I think, recently. And I've been kind of following you guys on LinkedIn. So for those who don't know me, my name is Rohan Cherian. I'm the Vice President of Digital and Customer Technology at PetValu. We are a Canadian-focused company. We're only in Canada. We're proudly local, proudly Canadian. As you can see, I'm doing some of the plugs and promotions for our brand. I oversee everything software technology and engineering for PetValu on the website, on ecom, as well as everything for point of sale systems nationwide across 800 store network. Prior to this, I was with other retail brands in Canada, like Toys R Us Canada, Longo's, Grocery Gateway, Auto Trader, and I started out my career in consulting with companies like Accenture and Deloitte.
Thank you, Rohan. Venky, do you want to go next?
Yes. My name is Venky Avunoori. I'm the Vice President for Customer Applications at Spencer's and Spirit. Been in the supply chain industry for more than 20 years, and then moved to retail. I've been in the retail for the last 6+ years. Just to give you some background on Spencer's and Spirit. Most of you must be knowing Spencer's is a specialty retailer for the latest trends and teas and body jewelry. It's a heavily traditionally mall-based retailer. Most of the people growing up in the malls, you would have spent time going to the Spencer's. Our mantra is life is a party, and we are making it fun. That's how we want our guests to celebrate. And we also have a Spirit Halloween brand. We are North America's largest seasonal Halloween retailer, and it's a one-stop destination for all things Halloween, right? And we differentiate ourselves with immersive and interactive experience for our guests, heavily animatronics and family-based experience for guests who walk in. We have both these brands are across North America. For Spencer's, we have 650 plus stores across US and Canada. And Spirit Halloween, it's a seasonal pop-up store concept, and we have roughly 1,550 plus stores in US and Canada. And we also launched Spirit Christmas last year as in a pilot mode, and we're planning to take that to the next level this year.
Thank you, Venky. So I think it's awesome to hear that we have folks from companies that are on both sides of the border, plus also products mix is very different, and all kinds of implications. So the topic, tariffs. As you think about it, I was thinking about as I was prepping for this discussion. I think the thing that came to my mind is where we are all right now is everything we knew for most of our careers around sourcing and supply chain and how things work is kind of suddenly been tossed in the air, right? And it's all up in the air. There's a new kind of direction that the world seems to be moving in, where there are protectionist barriers coming up with tariffs. And there's two challenges that I think we as professionals in this industries face. One is just the change in the environment itself and what that means. But I think the second part is what I almost think of it as you're trying to play chess when the rules are changing every day. You don't know what the rules are. It's one thing today, and then who knows what it's going to be in 3 months and what it's going to be in 6 months. So it's also a very dynamic world. So by no means am I expecting that anybody here has an answer, a silver bullet answer that hey, this is what you should do. But I thought this is a great topic to talk about with you both, because I'm sure you guys are thinking about this stuff and all the implications. And personally, coming from omnichannel technology, I always wonder what is the implication of this to omnichannel technology versus upstream things like sourcing and stuff like that, which is typically what's obvious. So before we get into that discussion, I want to first start with maybe if you can give us an opening insight on how are your companies strategically impacted by this. You don't have to share specifics or details, more publicly what's available. And what types of strategic challenges are you anticipating, and what are at a high level, what are your thoughts, is what I thought we could start with. Venky, do you want to go first?
So the way I look at this, Laxman, is, as you just pointed out, it's a very uncertain environment, right? Not knowing the timeline, not knowing even the level of tariff, right? I mean, we are heavily tied to China in terms of our imports, and it has gone from 50 to 80 to 120 all the way to 145, right? So there is a number that's kind of causing an uncertainty and also unknown timelines here. Definitely it has an impact across the supply chain, from sourcing all the way to importing and duties, and then distribution network and everything. So what we are looking at is a deeper insight into every step of the way. Obviously there is short-term disruption, and but there is also a long-term, I would look at as an inflection point. It's not just how we deal with these few months and get out of it. I think there is a bigger focus that needs to come together on how do we, mitigate such risks and diversify across the network, even from sourcing and many other aspects. So what we are looking at specifically is obviously some of the short-term strategies on, cost and risk mitigation, and specifically pausing and delaying some shipments and taking time to figure out how we can have some nearshore opportunities. Okay, what type of shipments can maybe come into a bonded warehouse, obviously to Canada, and then figure out to at least get the product closer to the shore before we get out of this uncertain environments. That's one of the aspects. And and then other aspect is to truly figure out different cost and pricing strategies, how you work out all those details, because it has a direct impact on the landed cost and other indirect costs associated with the product. So every part of our business, every team across the company is looking into optimizing the current status, but at the same time, what are those unknowns we need to be prepared for, and look into the future as well.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting, especially some of the things around delaying purchases and also around nearshoring. I think it can have impact on a lot of things that we do. Rohan, yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on what you guys are looking at.
Yeah, and it's it's very similar to what Venky is saying. I think for us, tariffs have basically accelerated our Canadian first strategy. If nothing else, I think given that we have we're Canadian only, we're not as impacted by it. But regardless, like the U.S. currency obviously impacts us quite a bit. And then also separately, the fact that sourcing and vendor partnerships. So how we go about product messaging, how we go about like customer experience, that gets affected as well. It has asked us to essentially pivot and change and react to the market quite a bit. I think one of the key things is PetValu is proudly Canadian, right? We're proudly local, proudly Canadian. If you include Quebec, we've got close to 1,000 stores across Canada, plus our online presence, and we're now responding to the tariff situation and to shop local, shop Canadian even more so. The 65%, probably about 65% of Canadian households have pets. And that's like a mix between obviously dogs, cats, and other smaller animals. But I think the willingness to trial Canadian products now has increased substantially, right? Like that's the major impact or major thing that we're starting to see. And at least 68-70% of people are making buy in Canada products or buy in Canada goods like a major priority. And people are asking us those questions. They're calling our customer care teams. They walk into our stores. They look for the maple leaf. They look for the Canadian made brands. They ask those specific questions about, hey, are these actually Canadian products? So a small percentage of our products are obviously sourced from the US for both ingredients as well as packaging. But despite all of that, we're essentially trying to build that resilience, how we source, how we price, how we serve customers, and where we show up. And that's like a core focus for Canadian customers today.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think the interesting thing here is there's a nuance that it's probably Canadian, right? We don't have that here as much, but the whole idea of all through my career, 25 years in this space, I have not seen, country of origin or, where is this product made as even being a question that anybody has asked ever. Like, it's like, just get it and sell it. That was
It's an interesting point. We're actually looking at our, we're looking at the way the metadata is built into some of the tables too, right? So where do you is this something that's going to have to be built in all the time, like made in Canada, sourced in Canada, manufactured in Canada? Like that's what people are looking for. So now your nutritional fact tables at the very bottom, you have to also include that. So you have it for your PDPs, and customers are searching for that. So when they actually, their Google searches are changing. What they're typing and what they're looking for is specifically tied to that. So especially in Canada, we see that quite a bit. I mean, we are looking at the customer sentiments and the pulse of the customer quite a bit, and that is a shifting area. It's a shifting focus where they start looking at more Canadian-based products. There's a lot of feedback specifically around like exactly what Venky talked about, like nearshoring, and if I can buy this product here, can I buy it across Canada in a specific location, where we were previously used to going to our neighbors in the south, to the US. We are now actually looking at interprovincial distribution and what does that look like. So that also leads to questions like vendor diversification and how Canada supports itself within the country itself. And naturally, this is opening the conversations with other corridors like Europe.
Got it. Yeah. Lots of interesting challenges. I think that kind of leads to the next topic I wanted to talk about. I think we kind of touched about it more broadly, but I want to kind of dive a little bit narrower into specifically coming to tech. I know we talked about all these challenges and these opportunities, and I think, Rohan, you touched upon the metadata and some of that stuff. I was coming down to, where do you see tech challenges emerging, and what types of opportunities are emerging from a technology perspective, technology strategy perspective. And kind of like a follow-up to that would be like from an investment angle, are there specific areas that become more important, or new areas that emerge as like, hey, we need to be thinking about this stuff as new areas? Also, just thinking very narrowly from our perspective, are you looking at cost cutting initiatives versus strategic priorities? What's that mix looking like for you, Rohan? And then I'd like Venky to respond after that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good question. I think for us, it's the optimization of delivery expenses. That's like a core area and focus, right? And from a tech standpoint, we're really looking at the orchestration layer. We've never really thought about it as much before. You always focus on e-com, you focus on the experience layer, but now it's starting to become more of a core focus. I think one of the key things we have done as a brand and in Canada is we've opened up 3 massive DCs between Ontario, Alberta, and Calgary. So we're basically making sure that we have supply where we need to be so that we can serve across Canada. So that was a massive investment, both real estate as well as tech. Highly automated, at least one of our warehouses is completely automated. And I think this is one of the key areas. When you think about where we would invest from a tech standpoint, we would probably start diving deeper into smarter sourcing, the pricing tech, fulfillment flexibility, things like that. Even the ability to look at it's an old one, but everyone talks about where's my order. So the ability to be able to respond to that really quickly and put that in front of customers builds customer trust, builds customer transparency. And then specifically, I think it's balancing that operational efficiency with that meaningful customer experience, right? So we're looking at both of those. On the flip side, on the tech media side too, we see some interesting data coming back from industry forecasts, right? Where they're essentially highlighting and saying there's probably going to be about 8 to 10% retail media spend. That's actually going to drop because of the heavy tariff scenarios. So now local inventory ads and how you actually focus on that pivots and changes, right? So in the end, I think it is going to be focused on pricing. It's going to be focused on sourcing. And then specifically, do we have the right tech to be able to serve that experience up?
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. And just a quick follow-up thought there, Rohan. So you do see, one of the things in the back of my mind was with all of this cost pressure, does investment focus away from technology completely into something else? But I think what you're saying is technology is still a very important part of solving this and addressing the challenges, is I think what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I think it's more of a, it's not, so look, there's more for, I think, merchandising and marketing teams and merchandising teams, supply chain teams to kind of solve for and dive into. But when they do come and knock on the door, technology teams and engineering teams have to be able to say, yeah, we have the products available to serve that experience, and we should be able to serve that seamlessly without having to spend additional dollars in integrations or building anything new. So as a result, I think we're trying to get in front of that and spend that money and start looking at our order management systems, looking at our supply chain systems or fulfillment systems. That's really key, right? Like one of the key points to kind of call out when you think about pricing too is like we've done something that most Canadian brands have not seen or done during this economic climate, right? We've actually lowered price on some of our key private label products.
Oh.
We're getting feedback from some of our customers. They're like, hey, during the tariff season, you actually see more products actually costing more and things going up in price. But we've actually dropped down price up to 15% for some of our private label brands like Performator and Prime for both dog, cat products. So that's 100% Canadian made, 100% available in Canada, and it showcases the brand strength and customer trust, and they're looking for that online. So someone in BC might be looking for that same thing available here locally, and we're able to serve that to them, right? So the reason we can do that is purely because of the way we've kind of set up the technology, and that's why I think there's a need to invest further in technology to make that easier for the customer to find.
Yeah, that's awesome. That this is not just a defensive strategy; it's actually an offensive strategy where you can make this a differentiator to gain share. That's fantastic. Yeah. Venky, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. I'm sure you guys having kind of this impact with China. I'm sure you guys have lots that is on your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, definitely. And, it's on the same lines as Rohan was saying, right? This is the time to actually, be on the offensive side. And because the kind of agility that's needed to not only deal with the current situation, but also be prepared for the long term, as I was calling out, that calls for, a deeper focus on the tech investment, right? So we look at from the buying process, buy and rebuy, and as all the way merchandise sourcing, and then into supply chain. So at every step of the way, we need more visibility, we need more agility, and that definitely calls for whether it's redesigning, re-architecting your homegrown solutions versus commercial solutions where you expect a certain level of technology orchestration, right? So, from a warehousing automation to supply chain automation, I believe every aspect of this supply chain life cycle would be needing more focus on the technology, more investment on that. But we need to be laser focused on exactly where we do that investment and plan for the short term as well as long term.
Yeah. Same, I guess the same story, that it's not going to be a dampener on technology investment. In fact, it probably is going to call for more investment to deal with the challenges and be more agile versus like having all the processes that we have already built need to evolve now to account for this agility, is I think what you're also saying. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I want to dive into, so what I'm going to do, I know there's a question on the chat. Mohit, thanks for the question. What I'll do is, I want to go into a couple more questions, and then I'll come to the question that you asked. In fact, I had that same question already. But also for the audience, please keep posting any questions you have. This is a open forum for everybody to ask and get whatever questions. All questions are good questions at this point on this topic, because this is such a new area for all of us to explore. So the next topic I wanted to kind of dive into and focus on, zoom in a little bit more, is the specific area of interest for this audience here, Venky and Rohan. Our focus here in this community is everything from inventory management, and I mean more from a visibility to channels, not so much from an inbound buying perspective, but from a visibility to channels perspective, to order management, which is very tightly or very closely linked to cost to serve overall, and to delivery agility, and to some things that Rohan, you touched on, having, and you touched on to Venky, bonded warehouses and stuff like that. All of that plays into your fulfillment network and your fulfillment strategy. So I want to zoom a little bit in now into OMS and inventory domain, and maybe ask if you folks can share some thoughts on specifically in this area. How do you see where do you see the impacts coming from? I think you touched on some of this already, but if you can share a little more on that. And I think I'm also hearing, but I just want a little bit more context on, do you see investments in OMS and inventory management from a selling perspective, or omni-channel technology from a selling perspective, getting squeezed out by more upstream sourcing and inventory placement and merchandising technologies? Or do you see this area also getting a boost from an investment perspective? Venky, if you can,
Yeah, I mean, as you just mentioned, Laxman, I look at this as more of a strategic importance, right? I mean, OMS plays such a crucial role in the aspect of product movement and order allocation, inventory management, and everything, right? So across the tech stack, OMS is also going to play a critical role for us. And specifically, you touched on a couple of things, right? The visibility across the network, and where the product is at what time, and how do you optimize the inventory across your nodes in your network. That is a very needed strategy in general for business, but now even more needed, right? The current times we are in, the situation we are in. That's why I was always referring to the agility of how we react and adapt to the needs of the business. And this uncertain environment created a need that we now need to react immediately. And obviously, there are systems where we are adding more flexibility right now as we are speaking, as business is making some of these different scenario modelings and how to get the product to different parts of the country from a technology perspective. We are moving fast as well to accommodate those changes. And some of the existing systems, they cannot accommodate as is. So we need to get into deeper evaluation. And then this just reminds me of the COVID times where how a crisis really drives innovation and an opportunity, how we all came out with these capabilities in a pressure cooker environment. I'm kind of seeing a similar situation here. I know we all hope it's a very short term and we get out of it, but just that it is calling for out of the box thinking, driving more innovation, and some of the things that we have taken for granted are no longer on the table, right? So while the concepts are the same, how we really get to it, how fast we really make the visibility and optimization, that's going to be the key. And OMS plays a very central and crucial role there. We have BOSS and BOPIS across the businesses, and what is really unique for our business and causing more unique challenges is our seasonality business. So, Spencer's is a year-round typical retailing. So the buying cycle and the product movement is in a typical retail pace and cycle. But when you talk about Halloween and even the Christmas, the seasonal businesses, there is a timing of the product movement, which is very critical to make those seasonal businesses operate smoothly. So those are some of the additional unique challenges we run into, but that's where we put more focus into OMS along with the supply chain and buying and merchandising processes.
Yes. Yeah. I think some of this that you're saying, I was just reading earlier today on LinkedIn that Apple, I believe, was able to get 5 plane loads of iPhones from India just before the tariffs were kicked in. And I was reading about how it was the visibility, I think, to what Venky, you were saying, knowing that they had the data and the visibility to be able to say that they wanted 5 plane loads and they wanted these to be in these locations to avoid the immediate impact of the tariffs. And some of those things become really critical. And I think what you're touching upon is also, you can't just assume that you can just keep buying more and more. How do you better utilize what you have, and where is it located, and move things in between as much as possible. Then so things like improving inventory turns, all that, I'm assuming, becomes a lot more crucial for folks like you. Yeah. Rohan, would love your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think Venky hit the nail on the head with the pandemic example, because we're seeing and feeling the same thing. I remember during the pandemic when we did this and introduced BOPIS and curbside pickup, and how we had to all turn those solutions on a dime. It's a similar kind of situation. In fact, I think just the concept of tariffs and then just the limitation. Like there's I remember reading a stat that Canada had exported close to 900 million or more worth of goods to the US in the pet food category, right? US being one of the major consumers. But it's interesting because that is now leading us to, the tariffs are now kind of telling us, hey, you don't just pause on your supply chain or your OMS or WMS system investments, you actually accelerate the need for more smarter orchestration. You actually lean into it a little bit more to stay ahead of these kinds of changing, shifting needs, right? So I think one of the key things, like whether you're looking at cost-aware fulfillment decisions or you're looking at things like price transparency tools, we're already working with merchandising to do that, so that we know when we're listing a product or a product that was previously sourced and listed at a certain price, what's the customer sentiment to that? What's the price sensitivity and local availability needs to that? That is something we immediately look at and try and respond to. Partly I would say the idea of having like personalized product recommendations and the OMS being not just a central orchestrator, but the ability to give visibility to inventory just locally, but also throughout the network. That demand is so critical to customers, right? Because that experience means that they're going to get a it's almost it's a not just a made in Canada product badge, but it's something that's becoming part of it's our philosophy that if you look this up or you call in for it or you go into a store, you're going to find that, and we're prioritizing that. So that naturally means that our tech strategy has to be able to be modular, has to have that API first capability, but also data localization, right? Making sure that we can have that available as needed. So naturally, this starts leading to things like intelligent demand planning, safety stock, forecasting, like visibility into all that. Now, we don't have seasonality like Spencer's. I mean, we kind of do just purely market driven, but it's not like people are waiting for a season to buy food for their pets, right? It's like you're constantly buying it. So it's kind of similar to the grocery category, but at the same time, it is something that we have to make sure we are able to pivot and react to. We have like major marketing promotion seasons too that we push for, and customers know that. They look for that, and we have to make sure that we're always available in stock for those popular products and items.
Right. I think some of the stuff that you are both of you are talking about is kind of triggering this thought or bringing back this idea that, I think over the last year or so, we've been starting to see, traditionally we had planning and fulfillment as being like two distinct areas. And, it was almost like a wall between the two that, you plan and then you put the inventory in locations, and then fulfillment optimizes within what's already there at the location. And I think what you folks are talking about, which is what we already started seeing to some extent, but I think you're saying it's going to accelerate, is you cannot take for granted that this is a fixed picture and I'm just going to fulfill with what's there. How can you be more dynamic? How can you be more dynamic in leveraging tie the planning and the fulfillment cycles more closely, so you get that type of thing. That makes a lot of sense. I do want to talk about AIML and specifically where AIML can play a part in these areas. I know Mohit also asked a question about that. But before that, I want to ask one other question. Are there specific things from an OMS perspective? I know both of you have OMSs in your estate, technology estate, so to speak. Do you already have things that you're working on here, or are these all directional? Are there specific things you can talk to in terms of ideas of things that you guys are working on already or thinking about? Venky, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things which I'm referring to, most of the capabilities are already in place, but obviously, more tweaking and more rigor is needed. For example, when you talk about inventory optimization across the network and how you make that adjustment and be dynamic in moving the inventory across the nodes, that is a typical capability that's needed, but now it's kind of put under more pressure, right? So the way I look at this is getting more agility into the systems is a paramount need right now. And another aspect of this is I saw someone also posting a question on this AI ML modeling and how that is going to be of use in this situation. There are many use cases we have been working on for our business in general, with the AI and ML modeling. But now in these specific scenarios we are in, we definitely have a bigger need for it, right? So it is getting more attention, and we're trying to figure out as we go through these different modeling scenarios. Obviously, a lot of analytics data is needed, how you analyze. So many things are in place. So when I look at an OMS as a product, it definitely calls for some of these capabilities that whether the country of origin you're referring to because of the tariff impact, whether the dynamic sourcing, or even to the level of having SKU level transparency, right? I mean, right now, most, let's say the entire category of product is at 145% or whatever the number is, but once you get down into different categories of product having different tariff levels, and you will be forced to move accordingly. So the capabilities that are needed by OMS and other solutions are going to be definitely more challenging, I would say.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I just saw Darpan has posted a question here around simulation capabilities, Venky, and you mentioned AIML. Again, don't want to ask you to share anything confidential, but if you could share, a little bit more about what types of things are you working on from an AIML perspective, and is simulation something that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we are at a, I would say, use case discovery type of sessions right now. As I talked about, whether it is an inventory management or a cost optimization by region, because the typical AI, what you would get started is more of a productivity improvements, and the basic base level where you start making realizing the investments and then making progress. But now it has to get to the next level. So we are in that mode right now.
Got it. So the normal path would be low hanging fruit, like labor optimization, call center, stuff like that. And then you would get to more mature things. And I think what you're saying here is you may need to bypass some of that because you really need to get to the meat of this stuff. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yep. Rohan, yeah, would love your thoughts on both these questions. One around specifically from an OMS perspective, what are you guys thinking? And AIML, what are you guys looking at?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're a little further behind compared to Venky's examples in terms of journey. Like other than the fact that our in-store presence has been in Canada for quite a long time, but our online presence has only we're relatively young. We've only been online transactionally in the last 4 years. So it's kind of nuts when you think about it, right? During the pandemic, we actually launched a transactional site. Until then, it was purely just browse catalog type, and if you wanted this product, you would have to go to your neighborhood store. We are very strategically placed in every neighborhood and borough, at least 7 to 10, 15 kilometers. There's a PetValu around every borough all across Canada. So those 800 stores, that network is very crucial to the way we actually do that in terms of our planning and where we actually have stores located. But I would say from an OMS standpoint, yeah, like we've been on this current journey for 5 years. We've already reached the limit of the current technology, and we need to do way more. So things like visibility or split shipments, or even the ability to look at localization. There's a lot of those limitations that we have today, and naturally that leads to how customers want to even purchase. So whether you're looking at options like subscriptions, or they're purchasing something online versus in store, like can I actually drive subscriptions in store as well, versus why should it only be an experience that they enjoy online? Like and you look at some product categories like cat litter. Customers come into the store, or those really massive bags of dog food, they come into the store and you see them quite often, right? So it'd be awesome for us to make that available to the customer right away, that hey, like you get X if you sign up right now into a subscription program, and we can have that available for you. And that could all flow through your e-com, your POS, your OMS system. But that's the idea. That's one of the key things I think we're looking at and saying, a lot of these are now table stakes, how we handle returns. We don't have a lot of returns in our product category, obviously, but at the same time, that ability to be able to handle that is actually pushing the limits on existing tech. So it's making us look at it from a standpoint of, okay, should we really start thinking about what does the next level OMS look like, and future proofing it to be able to deliver on those experiences, right? So customers maybe and we've partnered up with other brands too, where you can do things like same day pickup, or whether you're getting a Instacart shopping, things like that. We can definitely do that, but naturally the question kind of comes back and says, is your pricing going to be higher with your current tooling? If you look at your GMV, your order tiers, like, can we actually cost optimize that even better? So that's where we're kind of going to be spending more time. We're looking at that, and technology is the unlock for that. Licensing aside, it's really the tech stack itself. And then from an AI ML standpoint, I would say, yeah, we're again, it's more discovery. With price sensitivity and looking at how to actually cost optimize. We're still in that early journey to say, okay, like doing Monte Carlo analysis and what if scenarios. So if you have this product and you're positioning it in this locale, are customers actually buying it? Do they like it? Should we reprice it to something else? What should it look like? Even the fact that we did this whole change on our private label brand and dropping it by 15%, that's crazy, right? So customers come in, they're used to spending $26 for one of their bags of food, and now all of a sudden they come in and now it's like $19.99, and they're like, hey, like this is interesting. Like, so that's part of, some of that is driven from us using some built-in very base case tooling for AI and ML. That's like a use case, but it's very base case. I think it's still very early. It's a little bit of a journey for us. Like, we're not trying to be that company that says, hey, AI, shiny object, let's kind of go after it. It has to be applicable. We have to apply it to something. And then, it would be cool to see if we can start applying this between our OMS and our WMS to say, you're probably going to run out of stock on this product. And so if you have, say, freeze dry goods that, or even if you have shelf life products, because like now raw is a really popular product for us that needs refrigeration. So things like that is where I'd look at AI and ML to tell us, okay, maybe we should think about how we distribute it. So it's just in time node-based network inventory that is getting to the right location. Because remember, these stores are also smaller square footage stores. So they have only so much capacity in their freezer, and we don't do ship from store today. We ship from our DCs directly. So that is something interesting for us to even think about, that, okay, well, will the data be there to kind of support that kind of thinking?
Right. That's a very interesting use case. Again, all ties back to that agility. I think Venky, you referred to. How do you know what's where, and how do you can't assume that you're going to keep weeks of stock or days of stock in the last location. How do you get more optimal on that? That's a great kind of a set of ideas. And there's a bunch of questions I wanted to go through to the questions. And I do have one last question, but maybe we can come to that after we go through some of these questions here.
I think there was a question previously from Jordan, Laxman.
Yeah. I was just going to go through. So when I look at, I'm just looking from the top. So Darpan, I'm assuming prices will indeed get impacted in some way. What are some considerations of looking at how much to pass on to the consumer versus not? Any thoughts on that? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a pricing strategy perspective, I think all the retailers are in the same boat. Until and unless you figure out what is the strategy for the true landed cost, you won't be able to get into the pricing strategy, right? I mean, if the not knowing the timing as well as the actual tariff number, it is changing. As you said, every day there is a different number, and but the strategy of pricing needs to be figuring out the costing and then the landed cost, and and then how much of that you really want to pass it to the consumer. And there is a limit to this, right? I mean, you need to figure out what is the price for the product that market bears. You won't be able to truly compensate for everything that happens on the tariff to the consumer. Now, that's where the strategy needs to come together to figure out what aspect of this the price increase would be meaningful, and how do you really make that happen? So a lot of unknowns.
Right. And I think this also ties to something you said earlier, Venky, where the cost optimization becomes very critical, because if you're now previously spending, say, 10% on fulfillment, every percent you can shave off of the fulfillment cost that you spend cost to serve, let's call it cost to serve. If you can get that 10% down to 8%, that's 2% less that you have to pass on to the customer, so I think there's a direct link there as well. So knowing landed cost, knowing cost to serve, all of that becomes critical. Yeah, Rohan, would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think ours is a little unique again, because we're not necessarily it's funny, values in our name, but we're not necessarily none of our products are actually cheap. Most of our products are premium quality and premium price. So that's already it's a market that's already kind of set. Customers already have come to know that, and for us, we're okay with kind of looking at it and saying this is the type of customer we're trying to attract. At the same time, that is a core focus. Like, passing costs on to consumers is not something that any retailer wants to have to always look at. We are investing heavily in teams that are looking at pricing and promotions, looking at the modeling for that, just purely to look at cost optimization. Also, onboarding different types of 3PLs so that we know exactly where we can manage some of that cost, even in like the fully loaded cost. So there's elements of that we're looking at, but given that we're already at a price premium, we're not as affected by it, because if you came to PetValu or you go to our website and you look at some of our products, and you compare that to some of the other banners, you'll notice that our products are already a little bit more pricier, primarily because of the quality, right? Like, we have it's a quality service association with our brand, which is how we positioned ourselves. So, which is why we're still the market leader for that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you guys are, leaning more in on the experience, so
That's
the
right.
price impact becomes less from that
Yeah.
perspective. That's fantastic to hear. I want to talk about the next question that I think there's two questions that I feel are linked. Bevin and Vishal both asked a question about customer experience, and how do you balance customer retention, loyalty, those types of considerations with this cost price pressure. So some of the things I think talking about, would you not pass on a price increase to certain customers? Does dynamic pricing become something that's a concept here, buy loyalty tier, or those types of things, or dynamic promotions? How do you see that, Rohan? I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. It's definitely it's a hot topic for us too. We're talking about loyalty quite a bit. We have a pretty high loyalty penetration and loyalty customer base. And even with our loyalty program, we have what we call it. It's a bag program. Essentially, you can convert that to a points-based program. But the idea is buy 12 bags and your 13th bag is free. That's not cheap. You do that across the run of the year. Some customers are getting anywhere between 500 to spending at least $500 to $800 on average to get 2 or 3 bags free in a year. And at the same time, that loyalty is a core focus of it. So we are starting to look at price, promotion, and the entire stickiness of that, specific to customer demographics and groups. So there's a lot of segmentation work that we're also starting to do. It's interesting. It has actually accelerated our need to look at that. To make sure that we understand not just the segments, but also how we're going to be positioning products and product categories. So when customers are searching for something at a time of need, we actually show up again from a brand relevance standpoint for that.
Yeah, wow, lots of interesting thoughts, possibilities, ideas. That's Venky, did you have any thoughts on this point?
Yeah, on the same lines, right? I mean, the loyalty and stickiness of the guest is going to be even more needed at this time. So we are actually enhancing our promotion and coupon capabilities for the last few months, and then as we are in this situation, we are rolling that out even on an aggressive timeline. But yeah, I totally agree with Rohan. It is very much needed to make sure that you maintain the stickiness and you focus more on the loyalty aspect of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, Venky, even how you're describing it and what we see. There will definitely be some erosion. Naturally, like some of those customers are going to go to probably other brands, or as price increases happen. In Canada, it's usually that it's the effect of the foreign exchange. They look at that and say, okay, if I can get this, I mean, like you look at poop bags, right? You just take poop bags for an example, and poop bags where people are buying from us versus going to a Dollarama. right? Or going to a dollar store. Like, why would they do that? Our customers are still looking at it purely from the fact that there's a loyal customer base. They have that average spend that they spend with us, but also the quality and the premium experience that they're getting when they come to a PetValu. So that is definitely an aspect that we want to kind of double click into and make sure that we have that right customer focus. So from a loyalty perspective, our customers are not necessarily they're going to come in and look for that Canadian specific focus brand, but they're not necessarily going to look at it as, hey, is this cheaper than somewhere else, right? Because then automatically for us, it's like, is that the right customer?
Right. So you have different strategies. You can that makes a lot of sense. I want to move to a question by Jordan. From Jordan, in looking to mitigate risk through keeping product in bonded warehouses, wondering if you're using global trade management solutions that offer these capabilities, and generally, what other solutions? I think going back to the earlier topic, are there capabilities that you did not think were necessary or useful in the past, become super strategic and important now that you guys are looking at investing in? Again, Venky, maybe you can start. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, this concept is kind of fairly new for us based on the current situation we are exploring. So there's a lot of research, manual, you can call it, and engaging some of the professionals who have been working in this space to understand options. So that's the stage we are in right now.
Got it. Rohan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, in our case, it doesn't really apply purely because, but by opening our own DCs and having it only primarily in Canada, I don't think we essentially look at that because there's no global trade kind of concept there. But the main idea is if we decide to start looking at ship from store or ship to store, we want to be able to have that capability. Now, of course, this becomes a very relevant question if we decide to start expanding into the US, but as of now, there isn't any direction on that.
Got it. Yeah. Since you're mostly in-sourced.
In-sourced.
Yeah. There's a question from Scarlett for Venky around seasonal items, and if there's anything unique about seasonal products that you're thinking from that perspective, Venky.
Yeah, I mean, as I was mentioning before, the unique aspect of our seasonal business is the timing of it, right? I mean, obviously it has its own, in general, there are many unique aspects to our seasonal business and how we, most of the product we sell, we manufacture, right? It's a private label product development, and there is a, more than 12 months of business cycle before the product can be ready for in the sales aspect of it. So, but the timing of getting the product across the ocean, that's the key. So that's what is more of a bigger constraint for us at this point. But again, everything that we are trying to do is to whether buy some more time or look into other options on how product can still move and be closer to the final destinations. That's where multiple scenarios are getting analyzed at this point.
It's game planned, and I'm also thinking that if the volatility is higher in your planning, from a pricing perspective, your planning systems may choose to buy more and keep, because you don't know if the cost is going to be up or down, in the future. So those types of considerations might come in too.
Exactly, because every modeling scenario you take, there is an aspect of the inventory size, right? How much you want to go down or not, and at what level, and then there is an aspect of the cost of moving. If a product has to move through different alternative channels, there is an additional cost. I mean, there is this whole cost modeling as well, not just the quantity aspect of it. So
yeah, makes sense. There's a question.
I remember looking at a question from Darpan. He was asking from a retail business, who is it the biggest? Are there businesses that might completely go under? I really like that question. Just want to answer that. So the way I look at this is, again, very similar to COVID situation. It is not the business model that is going to define whether you survive or go under. It is your financial health of the company. And this is the time where the cash flow and the way you manage your finances is really going to make an impact. That question is the same question we dealt with during the COVID time. There were so many businesses, strong business models, they could not survive because of not having a healthy cash flow and financial aspect of.
Great point. Sorry, I missed that question. Thank you for. So I think what you're saying is we're talking about all of this stuff about business and all that, but the other key aspect of making it to the other side of this period is just simple dollars and cents, right? Like focus on dollars and cents and making sure that you squeeze out every bit of fat that you can find in the cost model. Anything you want to add there, Rohan, on that question?
I was just gonna say, we should all take a moment and just think about the iconic Hudson Bay Company. Like you guys are seeing that today everywhere on LinkedIn and in Canada. It's really sad to see that brand kind of come to a place shuttering their doors. And it's partly exactly what Venky's talking about. It's that financial model and less so the business model. But you saw that and there's a lot of thoughts around that too. If you think about Canada is very unique. If Target came to Canada and tried, right? Nordstrom came to Canada and tried. It's a very unique space to kind of come in and try and make that work. But at the same time, Hudson Bay was here for I think close to 150 years, maybe longer. So
I think it's one of the
355 total.
It's like the East India Company. It's one of the companies that was along with the East India Company.
That's right. That's right. So it's a really sad day when you think about that, and it's partly tied back to that, not the business model, but the financial model and how they kind of position themselves for that, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point that that really resonates when you talk about financial mismanagement killing something that's 350 years old. I think we're almost out of time. There's one last closing thoughts I think I would love for you folks to share. There's a question here from Virginia. On what recent innovations in the market do you see as game changers? Now, this could be related to tariffs, not related. I think this is a more open question. Would love to get your thoughts before we wrap up. Rohan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, like I think there's a lot. I think it could be experiential. Like a lot of people have asked us, how come you don't have like an app, right? Or why don't you have a mobile app? Or what experience will that unlock for you? I think product discovery is a key item for our customers, and you kind of think about like game-changing things would be. It may not necessarily be new, but at the same time, you think about a concept of having. I've been talking about this a lot lately, even in the concept of having like stored value wallets, right? So what Starbucks done with their Starbucks app and their Starbucks wallet, and that's interesting because they've moved away from the concept of just gift cards and moved into the concept of actually capturing that fund, paying the merchant, and while they're sitting with that, and they can do so much with that. They can start taking that. They know you've got X dollars in your wallet that you've paid for. And they can now start positioning so many different things to you when you walk in store or you're shopping online. And it's not a matter of will you spend, it's the fact that you've already spent and loaded it up with $50. And now here's what you can get from that $50. And this is now applicable to you, personalized, right? That becomes very relevant. It doesn't have to be innovative. It's enough to say, I can actually move the needle on conversion, right?
That's very interesting and ties back to the earlier point about cash flow being critical. If you can get money from customers in advance, why not? And
if you, to your point, Laxman, if you tie that into subscriptions, you tie that into an OMS system, you tie that into an online experience for their in their My Account profile, lots of different things get unlocked from there, right? And it becomes easier for technology teams and business teams to kind of go to, say, a board or an ELT to say, well, look, like this is the amount of free cash flow we have. Like I read an article recently that kind of highlighted that at any given time, Starbucks has more cash in those wallets globally than a majority of the banks. That is insane.
That's insane. That's so cool. Venky, any thoughts? Closing thoughts?
No, I mean, it's on the same lines. It's not about the innovation, but actually needing the moving the needle, as Rohan said. Some of the things that come to mind is these AI-powered, ML-powered things which could get more insight into the customer buying preferences. A lot of external demand signals are constantly changing. and how you really get hold of that so that you are in much better position to make it more personalized to customers. So I still think that is the key theme that is out there. It's not the tech innovation, it's just how you really get to it.
Right. That makes so much sense. Yeah. I want to first thank you both, Rohan and Venky, for taking time from your busy schedules to talk about this topic. And I want to thank all the folks that are here and posted questions and listened patiently. I think this is a topic that it's not going to be the last time we talk about it. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it a lot in our companies and in other meetings and stuff like that. But I think this is very insightful ideas. So really want to thank you all for being here, and thank you, Venky and Rohan, again for.
Sure. Just take a couple of seconds, Laxman. Thank you to you and your team at Nextuple, and it's a nice community to come together and brainstorm and share ideas, and
Yes.
the best way to learn from each other.
Exactly.
Thank you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
We can-
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Take care.